The notes for the classwork section on page 1 relate to the title of this lesson, domain of a function. There's two big words that go together. We've talked about them from time to time. We have domain and we have range. When we talk about domain of a function, we mean all of the possible choices, all x's that are inputs for a function. That means that range is all possible y's. We'll also refer to them as f of x's. These are called outputs for a function. The x creates an f of x, as in something goes into the function and something comes out. They're also known as dependent, wrong letters, independent, and dependent. The independent variable x can be chosen no matter what values you are realizing you want to use. When they go into the function, you get f of x outputs that depend on what went into the function. I made sure to mention that we have x is the domain and y is the range. We would write the domain of a function like this. The domain is the set of all x's less than some number. Sometimes we say that the domain is all real numbers. Range is also referred to the same way. The range is the set of all f of x's. We could say less than, or we could say greater than some number. It's also possible that the range is all real numbers also. Consider that with this graph right here that we're just going to kind of scratch out. Make sure to label your x and y. And I just want to draw a line that starts maybe 2 spaces over, and it kind of does something like this. I don't know. Functions can look like that. When we talk about domain, we mean all possible x values. So domain goes from left to right. But over here, the function doesn't exist. So these numbers are not in the domain. And if I use some values, it looks like the furthest left number that we can go to is -2. So the domain of this function will be all x values greater than or equal to -2. Range does it differently. Range looks at up and down. So from the lowest to the highest, what places actually go out and touch the graph, whether you go left or right. And it looks like the lowest is this value right here. So anything higher than this will connect to the graph. And this arrow that keeps on extending past the box, past the graph, tells us that we're going to keep going out to infinity. So the range will be all f of x's greater than or equal to, I'm just estimating, I'm going to say it's likely -2 as well. This is the way that we determine domain, left to right, and what works. And this is the way that we determine range, from lowest to highest, and what works.